You're listening to the Doctor Is In podcast, brought to you by MartinClinic.com. During the episode, the doctors share a lot of information. As awesome as the info may be, it is not intended to diagnose, cure, treat, or prevent any disease. It's strictly for informational purposes.
Well, good morning, everyone. Day 110 of lockdown. It seems we've been down this road for so long, I can't remember what it was like to be normal. Guys, I'm going to blow your socks away today with a new study that came out. I just read it yesterday, but I needed to look into it, and it's incredible. Okay, so hope everybody's doing all right, okay? I don't know. Are we ever getting back to normal? Anyway. Guys, I'm going to blow your socks away. Something that, honestly, you learn something every day, but this new study came out on vitamin D. Actually, there's two studies that I want to bring to you, but this is significant. This is significant. New study out yesterday showing this on vitamin D, okay, that I didn't know. To be honest with you, I didn't know it. Now, vitamin D is really not a vitamin, it's a hormone. And the more we study vitamin D, the more we understand vitamin D, you really can't live without it, okay? You don't do well without it. Every cell in your body needs vitamin D. And I think you guys would admit this, that I have been very consistent on vitamin D, and I always talk about it. Get into the sun. When this whole thing was starting, I said, get outside. When people were saying, stay home, I was saying, don't do that. I didn't say go back to work. What I was saying is, get outside. True or false? Did I say that? Yes, I said it consistently. And guess what? We were right. You and I were right. And folks that were telling you to stay indoors were wrong. They were wrong. And now even some of the politicians are admitting it. You know, when they closed the parks and everything, you know, as if people couldn't social distance. For the amount of squealing there is and people ratting each other out, I can't understand why city workers or whatever couldn't make sure. You know, we got a beautiful boardwalk here in Sudbury and all sorts of trails. Unbelievable. And parks for kids. They closed them all down. That was the best place for them to go. Get outside. Anyway, guys, vitamin D. We all understand how important it is for your immune system. And it's one of the vitamins I would take with me if they ever let me into senior homes. Now, maybe I'm going to end up in a senior home. But in the meantime, if I could get in there, you know me, I'd take two vitamins, right? Vitamin D and B12. And I was going to talk about B12 and the brain today, but I'll probably do that tomorrow because it's breaking news. We got breaking news today. So, one of the things that this new study on vitamin D says, okay, let me give you the headline. If you have too much fructose in your body, you're not going to be able to absorb vitamin D properly. So the diet has a lot to do with vitamin D absorption. Now, I knew that about the gut. I knew that, leaky gut, you could have low levels of vitamin D. But here's what they're saying. Here's what this new study is saying. That fructose. Now, guys, yes, you know me. I call fruit God's candies. We live in a different world. I've tried to explain this to you many a times. That fruit are God's candies. Don't have too much. We don't live on fruit. Don't live on it. Don't have fruit 3 times a day. And the reason is because we live in a different world. We don't live in, we're not living in the 1950s. I mention this, I think, every day. 88% of the population is unhealthy. 88%. That's not coming from me, although I agree with it. I think it's over that. It's higher than that. I think it's over 90%. But here's what the CDC, here's where the World Health Organization or whatever, here's what they've said, not what Dr. Martin says. 88% of the population is metabolically unwell. So we live in a different world. And the key to being metabolically unwell is what I talked about on today's Wednesday, what I talked about on, I can't even remember what day now. I don't remember. Every day's the same. I think it was Monday. I talked about insulin. Insulin is your enemy. Look at the title. It's going to be a podcast. Insulin is your enemy. Guys, the world has changed. Insulin is your enemy. It's enemy number one on the hit parade for disease. I explained this even yesterday. What did I say? How are you going to die, right? Cardio, cancer, Alzheimer's, as we talked about that, and insulin in the brain, and diabetes. Well, diabetes is at the root of the other three. Oh, Dr. Martin, cancer, that has nothing to do with sugar. You know what a PET scan is? We have a new machine in Sudbury. PET scan. Nobody's had it in the last couple of months, I can tell you that. They closed everything down except for COVID. But you know what you know how the PET scan works? They give you a cup of radioactive glucose. And if you have cancer anywhere in your body, you light up like a Christmas tree. Cancer loves sugar. So what am I saying? We live in a world where metabolically we're upside down. And it all has to do, number one, with insulin. And insulin is a food hormone. Now, why are we having so much trouble with it today? What are they saying? 50% of the population is either diabetic or pre. And if you're pre, you're a diabetic. Really. You have to treat yourself, if you're pre-diabetic, you have to treat yourself like you are a diabetic because you're on the Titanic. It's only a matter of time before you hit the iceberg. You got to change your diet. But here's another reason. Something even Dr. Martin didn't know. The connection between sugar and vitamin D. You can't, remember what I've said over the years about exercise? Vitamin E is exercise. The Martin Clinic alphabet, okay? Vitamin E, exercise. Vitamin C, coffee. Vitamin S, steak. But remember what I was saying about the vitamins in terms of conversion, okay? Because vitamin D, essential, we all agree, right? Even for your immune system don't work well in vitamin D. The flu season is in the fall and in the winter, true, right? And the vast majority of people are low in vitamin D, and you can't, in exercise, I said, you remember what I said about exercise? You can't out-exercise a bad diet. Well, now they're saying you can't take vitamin D and absorb it properly if you have a bad diet. I didn't know that. I didn't know that vitamin D is also dependent on your diet. I'll give you a little bit of technical information, but you don't need to know this, but what happens if you are eating too much sugar, especially fructose? Okay, now what do I mean by that? I'm writing a book right now, and I have a chapter. You know what it's called? HFCS, the Antichrist of sugars. I actually wrote a chapter on it. It's already done. I wrote it. High fructose corn syrup is the sugar of choice for the food industries. From your ketchup to your cereals to your bagels, to your muffins, to your candies, to whatever. They changed the sugar. I actually got another chapter in the book. Okay? I just did it yesterday, actually, where it just sort of came to me and I said, look, here's what the food industry did. I've talked about this over a period of time, but I'm just going to refresh your memory. Here's what the food industry did. The first fast food, you know what the first fast food was? White bread. Because if you read the history of nutrition, in the 1890s, they went from stone-milled bread that kept all your nutrients, all your B vitamins, all your good oils, all your nutrition in the bread. And then they started using roller. It was processed. It was fast food. And they made white bread, and they only enriched white bread in the 1930s. They actually started putting the B vitamins back in bread. Because it was the first fast food. So what did they do? The food industry, go back. Well over 100 years. What did they do? They changed our flour. They changed flour. Oh, Dr. Martin, it's whole wheat. It don't matter. It's processed. It's devoid of nutrients unless they enrich it and put the nutrients back in. So that was the first fast food. Isn't that incredible? Well over 100 years ago. So the food industry changed our bread. What else did they change? They changed our oils. This happened when they got away from using butter and they used Crisco. Now, you got to be my age to remember that. Crisco. What's Crisco? It's hydrogenated vegetable oils. They changed it. They said, no, butter's no good for you. You need to use Crisco. Don't use G. Use Crisco. And that's what happened, guys. Okay, so they changed the oils. In the early 1900s was all, good oil. It was butter and lard. And then they went to something very inexpensive, Crisco. And then vegetable oils came on the market big time. Hydrogenated, soybean and canola and safflower and sunflower and all these grapeseed oils and all these, they're all oils that are they're not good for you because they're very high in omega-6. So that happened. So one, they changed the flour. Two, they changed the oil. They changed the fat. And then the food industry said, and I watched them say it, fat makes you fat. Fat gives you cholesterol. They changed our breakfast. They changed the flour. They changed the oil. They changed our breakfast. What did they say? Don't eat bacon and eggs. They're no good for you. Don't have sausage and eggs like I had this morning. They're not good. Give you cholesterol, Liar, liar, pants on fire. They were lying to you. They wanted you to start eating cereal. Did we do it? Hook, line, and sinker, we did it. We believed the cholesterol scam. It was a scam, guys. Brought to you by Ansel Keys and Dr. Kellogg's. And even today, go door to door in your hometown and do a nutrition survey, and they will tell you fat isn't good for you. Bacon and eggs, well, bacon. Oh, Dr. Martin, bacon. Ugh, it's full of fat. Yeah, it is. It's good for you. But 99% will say, no, it's not. It's bad for you. It's going to clog up your arteries. True or false? True. It was a lie. They changed our breakfast, right? So think of what they changed. They were all lies. They weren't true. So we live in a different world. Now we're on, here's another thing. One more. They changed our sugar. Dr. Martin, you had ice cream when you were a kid. You had cookies when you were a kid, yeah, but they changed the sugar. When you buy store-bought cookies and ice cream, they're using high fructose corn syrup, the antichrist of sugars. They changed the sugar. It goes directly to your liver. It don't pass go like Monopoly. It doesn't get metabolized like sugar does. Look, you know me. No sugar is good. But because they changed the sugar to high fructose corn syrup, very inexpensive, and the liars' pants on fires, in the 1970s, the food industry hired the tobacco people, and they were the masters of addiction. As people stopped smoking, the addiction people went to the food industry to get their work. And guess what? They invented a sugar that is not, it sounds good. Corn, Dr. Martin. Yeah. Well, squeeze some corn. You ain't getting high fructose corn syrup out of it. Let me tell you that. It's done in a factory. You can run your car on this stuff. It is so synthetic. And guess what? It's made us sick. Very sick. I'm a one-trick pony, guys. I talk to you about this every day. And now, listen. This is so unbelievable that this fructose, and remember, don't live on bananas either. And don't live on, I know an apple a day keeps the doctor away. That was in 1950. Not anymore. You got trouble metabolically? Don't eat bananas. Don't eat grapes. Don't eat apples. Have a treat once in a while. I know they're better than the chocolate bar, so don't come after me. But they're not much better anymore. Why? Why do I say what I say? Because fructose, at the end of the day, it's one of the reasons, I've talked to you about this in the past, fructose elevates your uric acid. And uric acid, everybody makes some uric acid. But the problem in society today is it's one of the reasons our blood pressure goes up. Uric acid, fructose, high fructose corn syrup. Oh, Dr. Martin, I got gout and my doctor said it was from steak. He's wrong. It's not from steak. It's from fructose. That's why we have an epidemic today of high levels of uric acid. And high levels of uric acid, guess what it affects? It originally starts in your liver because there's always a connection. But listen to this. You're going to get it. It's the kidneys. And what affects your kidneys is not protein. Every day I get asked that. Well, Dr. Martin, your eggs, meat, and cheese that's my doctor said. My doctor said it's going to affect my kidneys. Too much protein. No! Protein helps your kidneys. What affects the kidneys is sugar. It's your insulin. It's fructose. It's uric acid. And uric acid, listen to this. The higher your levels of uric acid, it stops the conversion of an enzyme, which is called alpha hydroxylase. You don't have to memorize that. That stops your conversion of vitamin D. So even if you're in the sun and you got a bad diet, you're not converting your vitamin D properly. This is one of the reasons that people are so low in vitamin D. So you can't doc, I'm just going to eat what I feel like, and then I'm just going to take some vitamin D or go in the sun. No, doesn't work, according to this new study. Guys, this is, earth-shattering. I saw this study only yesterday, and I started digging. Wow. We know you can't out-exercise a bad diet. And now you can't out-sun a bad diet. It affects your conversion of vitamin D if your kidneys are stressed from uric acid. And uric acid, go back another step, comes from fructose, high fructose corn syrup, the antichrist of sugars. You got it? Yeah. It's why we see so much inflammation today. You see, vitamin D, what it does, It lowers all your markers of inflammation. That's why it's such an important vitamin. This is why Dr. Martin's been talking about it for so long. Always have talked about it. And this study, guys, this is breathtaking for me. And it comes back to your prime importance of watching your diet and lowering your stinking sugars. Even your fruit. I know I'm the only guy that says it. But I'm right. I coined this years ago. Years and years and years ago. I coined fruit, God's candies. I don't know how many, 25 years ago. I called them God's candies. Don't have too much. You can have some, like berries and what. I'm not against all fruit. Please don't come after me, okay? I'm just telling you that if you're metabolically unwell, you got belly fat, you got high blood pressure, you got fatty liver, you got pre-diabetic, you got all these things, you got inflammation, you got joint pain unexplained, you're metabolically challenged. It's food. The cure is in the cupboard and the fridge. The cure is there. And like I said, I've been proving to people now for several years with my reset. It lowers your uric acid like you would not believe. It changes your metabolic syndrome. That's what I was aiming for. I know a lot of people do it because they want to lose weight, and that's a wonderful goal. I'm not against that goal, of course. But I always tell people, look, especially women, don't get too hung up on that, on the scale at first. Your body is cleaning itself up and changing its course. You were on the Titanic and now you're getting off. Tony Jr. and I like to talk about the story of the USS California, right? I'm the USS California. You know what they did on the night? I love the story of the Titanic. I always did. I used to preach on the Titanic. It's such a good story, right? The unsinkable ship. Oh, the pride, right? It was on its maiden voyage. But the USS California was out in the same waters in the North Atlantic. And they kept, beep, 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 Morse code. Hey, Titanic, change course. Don't go. There's icebergs all around there. Big ones. And the Titanic didn't listen. As a matter of fact, true story, at 11 o'clock at night, he said, shut up in Morse code. I'm going to party. The Titanic, true story. Guys, if you're metabolically challenged, you're on the Titanic. That's what I was talking about yesterday. Cancer, cardio, Alzheimer's, that's metabolic. That's not genetics. I don't know how many times I have to scream that out. It's not genetics. It's food. More important today than ever before because of the changes. Isn't that interesting? All those changes? They lied. I don't think their motives were always bad. Like they said, well, let's mass produce bread. We have to change the flour to do that. No more stone ground. It doesn't have a long enough shelf life. We want it to last longer. So we changed the flour. That's what they did. They made a fast food out of bread. I love bread. Honest. I love bread. When the Bible says man shall not live by bread alone, Tony Martin could. I love bread. But I'm very careful. I don't have much. Yeah. So guys, this is, I don't know if this is a watershed moment. I think it is. It's a watershed moment. I lit up like a Christmas tree yesterday when I was reading this study. What? Vitamin D? The conversion in the kidneys of this enzyme you need to convert vitamin D properly in your body doesn't work if you're on a bad diet. If you're on a crappy diet, it don't work. And every cell in your body needs vitamin D. Your brain, your heart, Your immune system, your T cells, your NK cells, natural killer cells, they kill cancer. But if you don't have good levels of vitamin D, they don't work properly. And now you have to even go back a step, and it's not just vitamin D, you got to have a good diet. Incredible stuff, guys. It's incredible stuff. I bet you dollars to donuts, okay? My grandchildren like my old expressions, okay? Dollars to donuts, okay? I bet you dollars to donuts, you're not going to hear this study on the mainstream media. You won't hear a thing about it. They've hardly reported on the importance of vitamin D with COVID. The mainstream media don't like it. It doesn't fit their narrative. True or false? You hardly hear it. There's nothing like the sun and getting outside. And they want to lock us up. It's part of their narrative. I get it. You know me. When I was down in Florida, I said, send all the Canadians down to the beach here. Ship us down. Let us sit in the sun. Okay, enough is enough. But listen, isn't that an important study today? Hey guys, Thursday, 2 o'clock, Thursday at 2 o'clock, we're doing our radio, not really on the radio, but it's a radio style format of ask your questions, okay? And apparently, I don't think you need to be invited. You just have to tune in. But you can come on Thursday afternoon. Of course, I'm going to be on tomorrow morning, Lord willing, but Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock, you get to see the junior. And we do a radio show format on Zoom, and it worked very well last week. So you get a split screen of 3 people. You get Brandy, because she's the radio host, and then you get Junior and I answering questions. So that's Thursday at 2 o'clock. And we might do it every week. I don't know. We're talking about it. Seems to be quite popular, okay? So come on and ask your questions. That's one. If you're not part of the Martin Clinic Facebook group, please join. So those are important things, okay? So you got that? Okay, good. So remember, you can't even get proper amounts of vitamin D if you got a bad diet. That's the take home today. Okay, love you guys. Talk to you soon.
You've reached the end of another Doctor is In podcast with your hosts, Dr. Martin Jr. and Sr. Be sure to catch our next episode, and thanks for listening.